Hi, everyone, and welcome to the PropLinq AI podcast, the show where we sit down with innovators in the real estate and property to unpack what's working, what's changing, and where the opportunities are. I'm Stuart Quintal, the founder of PropLinq AI, and where we help property businesses turn their lead pipelines into smart, scalable systems using AI and automation. Today, I'm joined by somebody who's been doing some really focused and effective work in the residential property management space, Mark Butler, founder of Orana Property. Mark and his team have over 120 years combined experience in the property management space, and they embrace innovation, trust, and transparency across the entire property management ecosystem to keep all parties involved and informed. Mark, great to have you on. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for inviting me, Stuart.
Now, let's get started with the story behind Orana Properties. What inspired you to launch it, and what was the gap you were looking to fill in the market?
Where it all starts is for 45 years plus, I've been doing property management, both in Perth and Melbourne and a number of other locations up and down the eastern freeboard of Australia. When it first started, it was antiquated. There was physical, a folder of what the rent was paid to. It was very cumbersome. So as worlds changed, and then now, and it is very much a cottage industry in Australia, there's very little corporate stuff. And in the meantime, still running the rent rolls, I've also set up and listed a Australian Stock Exchange, a development company, property development company. Also then set up another development fund in UA with some rather substantial funds, Australia-wide, sovereign funds. So then what's happened in about the last 8-9 years, the whole residential rent roll management business has become cloud-based, which just, the whole thing's just accelerated going to the Mars now. So what that does do is you can elevate the quality of service you can give. And one of the classic small things is, normally this is going backwards and forwards with the owners about small issues. Now what you can say to the clients is, hey, come in, have a look at through your portal access. You can see everything live. It's got your management agreement, the current lease, whether or what they're paid to, where the maintenance is going. All that stuff is available now. It's like internet banking. I don't go to the bank anymore. But 15 years ago, you've got to go there to do your stuff. Now it's changed, and I'm better for it, the service I get. You know, we also use a program called Tappy, which controls all the maintenance. Now, all these different programs all talk to each other. So one of my things when we were setting up Tappy, which the first bit is I said, well, how long is it going to take me to upload all our contractors that come into the Tappy program, which are working with our Property Me programming? They said, no, simple. You turn the system on and they talk to each other and it's updated and done. So the implementation is really simple. And then what it does, Tappy has, I think it's over 5,000 books on how to run the oven, the hot water system, turn the power off, all the gear. So you're empowering the users, and it actually goes through a filter. There's one where you can go through, my water's not working. Then they go through, how do you look at what's the number of the system? And there's a little QR code under the cupboard in the kitchen where they go click, it starts reading them. And because you'll sometimes get some tenants who have just don't understand the whole world, and they go, well, water doesn't work. And you go, well, what sort of water system you got? No idea. So it walks them through that. So then we're looking at the high level, really difficult things. So all that simple stuff is done, and that's sensational. We've now got programs which do a 360-degree ingoing and outgoing report for tenants and owners. So you literally plonk this thing up, and to your point of view, it does AI summaries of it. And I've seen some of this stuff, and it'll go, well, when I compare this with the previous report, those cupboards are a little bit such and such. And it'll also pick up, by the way, it's a Gaggenau Series 304 stove, et cetera, et cetera. And that's more accurate than any person can ever be. But it also picks up the mistakes which you'll never pick up. So there's all this stuff which gives us a better service and enables the property manager to do the really high value add stuff to the owners, which is, did you know you can do this with your no, we're not tax advisors, but we can appoint them and did you know about this? Well, I didn't know you do that. Go and speak to your accountant. If you're doing the settlement, do you want to prepay some interest because this is what's going on? Great. A whole lot of things as far as a tenant might be behind, this is what we can do. And then we then really are adding value. Our management fees are on average about 8.8% of the rent collected. And like your accountant, if your accountant says he's going to charge you $4,000 Australian for a year's fees, you sort of go, well, that's a bit odd. But if he charges you 4,000 and makes you 30,000, you're going to go, I'm happy to pay that. That's where we're going to it. And, we've got our CFO is in Singapore. Our trust accountant is in Melbourne. Every one of our property managers, I want them doing value add stuff. So they all have an assistant to look after a lot of the mundane stuff, which is not value add. It's important. You've got to do it. But I don't want someone with 10 or 15 years experience getting burnt out and thrown away because they can't do that. Then also we've done a number of, so our business is based on very rapid growth. The whole mantra is grow, grow, grow. But the first mantra is make sure you give the clients a good service. And that is both the owners, the tenants, the people we deal with. We're heavy into community sponsorship. One of our property managers, part of an entity called Life, which is looking after underprivileged people to make sure they've got a bit of a mentoring program. We love that. We've got to give back. We're all here to make money and make a successful business. But unless you have the ability to hand back to society, don't start. It's the loneliest millionaire in the country, I think was the term they use. So then we've done a lot of acquisitions. So our growth is by both organic and acquisitions. And the acquisitions we've become, I've now acquired in the Orana version about 5 businesses. So we're very good at acquiring, and it is a specialist art. It's a bit of a dark art of making sure that the people, they come over, how they come over, that they're happy. And in that first 3 months, what you got to concentrate on, make sure that suffices to them. And then how you ongoing that. So with Rate My Agent, I think we're just about to move through 100 5-star reviews in the last 3 months. Yeah, there's a few bad ones, but there has to be a few bad ones. There's not many, thank God. But that shows you they're not dodgy, marked up. But the 5-star ones are there and they're happy and we're communicating. And that's the idea. Communicate, keep them happy, keep them informed, and value add. Then our next phase is, our growth will be from where we are today to the next 2 months, we will grow about another 45%. So that sounds a bit spooky, but the systems are set up to do it. And we always have when we're doing something, we're making sure that will handle, when we're at 10,000 managements, will that suffice? And that's part of the mantra, even though when we started from zero. I bought a number of big businesses 8 years ago. And the problem then is we were being bounced around by what that system was. So someone came and offered us a lot of money for it. So we said, look, let's make a lot of money. We'll move on. And then the next bit has been making sure that we're controlling the boat we've got our systems, which we do, and then we slowly put in a few little systems. There was one business I bought where every day for the first 6 months I was finding some new little thing that they had, which they weren't using, was costing money. So I had to finally go through the bank account and find out what was there. And every person had tried to put some stupid, and none of them would talk to each other. All our systems are integrated. And if you look at our auditors, our trust accountants, very old school is you have your own trust accountant in your business. We don't do that. Ours is, I don't have to provide an office. I don't have to provide a car park. I don't have to pay super. I don't pay holiday leave. And that's all they do is trust accounting. And the good thing is between the Melbourne and Perth dynamic is they're 3 hours most of the year in front of us. So by the time we open up at 8 o'clock or whatever time we're starting, all the rents are received, everything's done. So the financials are live for that day. And then part of what we're doing because of our funds management, we actually have what's called Australian Financial Securities License. So we're able to raise capital and do other bits. So the organic growth is going along quite strongly. We'll probably do a couple more acquisitions coming forward, which I said will give us about that 40% growth over the next couple of months. But the organic growth is, that's now achieving about 30%. Now, a lot of people are doing more. There's one particular guy, a young man in Queensland, who's doing enormous growth. But even he says it gets a bit messy because there's lots of moving bits and there's big, chunky moving bits. I'm really quite happy with that growth. And our next phase, which we're ending into now, is into co-living. So co-living, you've got 35 square metre, 55 square metre apartments, which they're fully serviced other than towels and sheets. There is a cruise director, so there's some activities where we're going to go to the Subiaco pub for a drink, or we've got a lady coming into wine testing in the dining room area. But each unit is self-contained. You can stay for 2 to 12 months or even longer if you want. There's a very strong market here, particularly in Perth. I mean, our rents in Perth, the average one-bedroom apartment in Sydney's rent is about $760. This is like everywhere. In Perth, it's $690. Now, our population is nowhere near that, but the economy, particularly in WA, is exceptionally strong. So delivering
that's quite a strong price point there, comparable to Sydney.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's queues out the door to get there. So by providing doing the development of the co-living, that makes sure we've got brand new apartments. There'll be about 150 apartments in each one, in very central nodal areas where if you were single or with your partner, but you don't have all the kids, or you want to go and live there. It's near restaurants, near transport, near the city, maybe in the city, and you don't need to go and set it up and lock yourself in for 1 year or 2 years. It's there. The idea is it's easy to get in. You've got a smart building with a lot of, normally you're providing about 4 square metres for each square metre of apartment. So you've got pools and gyms and different bits and pieces which you provide. So that will then grow us even further from what we're doing. We're also looking at doing co-living housing as well. So you'll have a 4 to 5 bedroom house. Make sure there's always en suites and all those. You renovate the kitchens, you renovate the bathrooms. They're a nice location, and sometimes there's one we're just doing now which will have a pool in it, and that's further south near where the AUKUS submarines are coming in, and the Americans are selling solar submarines, and there's a whole lot of defence required down there. So again, there'll be a bit of a premium in the demand for that, and we're going to provide a good project. So again, because we're not so constrained by capital because of our ability to run as a fund, that enables us to do some good things and not have to worry about, have I got enough to borrow money? Do I need to refinance? At the moment, we don't owe anybody anything, it's a nice strong base, and we've got people who want to come and do stuff with them, which is good, but it's been systems which are ready for 10,000 managements, and using AI. All my staff are just told to use AI all the time in a smart way. I've got a sovereign fund from Malaysia who we do some stuff for, and it was quite a complex bit of realigning boundaries that we had this property. And AI gives a beautiful detail, who's doing what, how long, what we think the cost will be, and then yes, you got to read it and do that, and it's off you go. Using AI to write, I've just put a job on Seek, which is the program for employing people. I designed the whole ad around the AI generated the ad. So the ability to use, even though I'm a grey-haired older bloke than most people, but I like the tech. Tech's good and tech makes it smart. And it's like those inspection programs which we use. No one, even the most highly trained inspection person, would pick up the stuff and give it such a detailed report, which they do.
Yeah. You've mentioned quite a lot of things there already. Is that your typical day, or is this what's a typical day then for you?
Well, I do say to the people who work with us, understand, and this is meant to be a bit corny, so you've got to take it as tongue in cheek, is I'm cunning and lazy, right? And that's about understanding it. When I had, the listed company I had, we had $1.5 billion worth of assets and 185 people reporting to me. Now, that was stupid. You want 5 people reporting to you, that's all. You want about to delegate, but delegate clearly, and have some responses coming back. When you're giving instructions, make sure there's some clear boundaries of what your expectations are, and then have people around for a long time. Most of the people I do business with, I've been doing business with them for 20 to 30 years. I mean, I'm going to Malaysia this week, tomorrow night, midnight flight, disaster. I'm meeting 2 people there, which I've been dealing with for in excess of 25 years, well, no, probably in excess for 30. Like one of the other people I've done stuff with is I know their capability. It's very strong and it can accelerate. I know that life is not perfect. So things go wrong, not all the time, but things never quite pan out. And it's handling that stuff. And they'll be quite often good and come back and they say, well, this has gone wrong, but this is how we can fix it up. And so, well, I've got a problem and a solution. Just coming back to you every time with a problem, it's counter-cyclical. So you've got to help the people which are around you, either directly or indirectly, that, this is about problem solving, but we're in the people business. I took our staff the other day and we did axe throwing. Now, what has axe throwing got to do with generating a really good, profitable, dynamic, growing business? It's got nothing, but it's got everything. And the everything is the ability to see, one particular person who was you never thought they were that much driven. All of a sudden, they saw a scoreboard and competition. The horns came out and away they went, and it was great. And then the ability, when it's all over, just to sit and just chat openly about what's going on, because your best asset leaves the office at 5 o'clock. But a lot of ours are remote. I mean, I had this lovely, more senior lady working for me 6 years ago, and she was old school, so she wanted to come to the office. And she was leaving and she said, I'll see you tomorrow, and this is a Thursday. I said, I got an hour and a half drive home, and I didn't realise this. I said, we've given you the latest, it was a $5,000 computer. I said, stay at home, save 3 hours, work just as much for me, but keep yourself sane, happy.
Same, yeah.
I used to do a lot of flying. I used to fly from Monday afternoon to Friday night. And everyone goes, flying and traveling. It's not. It's tiring. It's a pain in the neck. So with that particular answer, it's trying to make sure you get the best out of them. And I said, it's not I don't love you and don't want you to come to the office. I'm more worried about you being better run as a person. So yes, the AI and all that stuff, but you also got to remember that you're in a people business and a client business. Did we meet your expectations about what you want? With staff, are you happy? Are we giving you enough stuff to make sure, I was talking to one the other day as we're going through the growth phase. I said, I'm not doing this for you to blow up and run away and have a problem. We're doing this to make sure you've got enough resources. This is a screaming success for you. So it's a very open discussion, and it's not a dictatorship. It's a very inclusive discussion of what, and I said to her, well, if we do this, this, and this, and this, we'll get going. And if it doesn't work, we'll review it pretty quickly and dynamically to make sure it will work, because we do not want you to blow up. That's not the plan. I quite like working. One of my older friends / business person I've been doing with for 35 years, his wife, he was talking about retiring, and his wife said, you don't want to retire because all the people you talk to are all in business and you quite enjoy it. Then what are you going to do? And he said, ooh, and that was one of those hallelujah moments. He goes, yeah, you're right. I enjoy working. I enjoy getting the best out of people. I enjoy creating, we're going to create 1,000 of these co-living, and it's quite big in the Eastern Freeboard, but there's only 2 in Perth. And then we'll move to the Eastern Freeboard. But that'll be $140, $150 million enterprise. Yes, we'll have some that debt. That's exciting. It's great to do it. And then we bring the inclusive people along with it. So there is a mindset about, I'm really good at growing things. If you put me in maintenance mode, I'll turn to the bottle. I'm not good at maintaining things. I'm very good at growing things.
You sort of talked about that, like your team size, I guess. Who's your core team? You mentioned your CFO is in overseas, but who's your core team then that's helping you with this business?
Well, no, it's the board. The board is a very important part. So the board has different skill sets. One is trained as a lawyer in mergers and acquisitions, right? Mm-hmm. Another one was originally a QS, but has had big funds before. So I've got a look up and look down process. Look up is, I just need to have a clear discussion about someone who's going to look at it from a different aspect. I'm a property person. You scratch me, there's bricks and mortar, and you tap on my hat and there's a roof. But there's other skill sets which you always need. So the top up and top down is, I can speak to them about this stuff, but you need to be able to speak to those who are working for you or with you. I've got managers. I'm getting more away. I set it up originally in this next phase, very hands-on, but now I'm stepping back and back and back because I understand the fundamentals. I can read it. I could be in London and have a quick flash at the computer and can tell you with it that everything's sticking and going along okay. But then you need to be able to stress test. And we were stress testing something the other day about if we did these houses and made them co-living and they were 5 bedrooms and they were in some areas, what rents do you think we'd get? And they told me the rents. And then they said, and there'll be demand everywhere and they'll easily rent. So that was really good because if there's no rents and it's not at that level, this is not going to work up here. So you've got to come back to the fundamentals of an understanding. It's no use doing a development for $100 million if it's going to be worth $20 million when it finishes.
So part of that, you just mentioned, like if you're somewhere else, you can look at something. What are the metrics, I guess, that you're looking at, or what are the metrics that you focus on in the business?
So there's a couple of things. Having been out and acquiring a number of properties, property management businesses, this is very scary. Is if you're speaking to them and they'll be doing something, you think, well, I think it's not a matter of quite right, but you can do it a lot better than that. And then you ask, why do you do that? So I'm talking about the acquisition side, and they'll go, you'll very regularly, I love to say it was very small, but they'll go, oh, we've always done it that way. I know, like that. And then imagine in a business, you ask someone, what's your unit cost per management? I mean, you got to know that. That's really fundamental of knowing what cost, because there's no use bringing something on if you're going to be losing money. Because that's a really bad service for your staff. It's a bad service for the clients, which are out there. And then understanding it in Australia, you have like a management fee. I'm talking property management fee, you have ancillaries. So there's a certain metric. So you want to have a certain average rental per week. So you know that you're hitting the right marks. You want to know that you're holding your fee. So therefore, you know you're making a profit. And then you want to make sure you've got a certain percentage of your management fees coming in through ancillaries. So you know you're doing the work for the clients. The ancillaries, yes, it makes revenue, but it also provides a service. In other words, it's leasing, inspections, and all sort of gear. So if all of a sudden, hypothetically, you had $1 of management fee and 50 cents of ancillaries, we're not giving the people the extra service they should be getting. And so there's a duplicity in that. So therefore, you've got to understand what it's doing, but also when you're designing the program, which gives you the spot, you know that you've got to, sometimes in the growth, you've got to do things. The classic is you're here, you're planning to go here, and your cash flow's here. And that's fine. Yeah. As long as you know that, that's fine. So then I do still travel a lot with business because we've got a lot of stuff everywhere. So you can look at, particularly now with these modern programs, you can look at, and I'll talk about the property management specifically, is like, is there a lot of, like I said, a flash? Is there arrears and rentals? And then you got to look at it to make sure it might be high, but it might be one particular one throwing out a kilter. You might have 5 or 10 which are over 3 days old. They're sort of good. But if you had 30 in more than $4,000, and then you had 30 which are more than 3 weeks, something's gone wrong.
That's a lot of money, yeah.
A lot of money out there, which affects our business because we're not getting paid because the fee's not. We get paid a percentage of what we collect. So I'm feeling the pain with the owners. So let's make sure we can get in and fix the stuff which we need to do. If we need to bring someone in from outside to do that, that's fine. And then with the agreements in WA, people sign a management agreement for a period of time. In Melbourne and Sydney, it's purely on a monthly basis, which is actually great because there's a commitment by us to them, a commitment by them to us. And I actually find, I'm originally from Melbourne, I find it's a much nicer way of doing the business. But then you've got rent, you're looking at rent reviews and new leases. If I had a portfolio and I had 80% of the business, the tenants had no lease, that's really bad, really, really, really bad. Because the tenant's controlling us, we're not controlling the tenants. And when I say controlling, I mean it's a matter of we should have helping the destiny of the owners, which is there. So there's a lot of little metrics which you can, and the great thing, we use a program called Property Me, which is sort of, and it's really good to give. For a while there, they got a bit sleepy because I think you can almost see it. They thought they were the best, and no one's anywhere near us. And then about 6 months ago, probably 8 months ago, someone's put something in the coffee and they've really got up and got going again, and they're doing a lot more metric stuff that you can read. You can read the tea leaves a lot easier. And I love analytics. I'll analyze 2 flies going up a wall. And to that end, that's important. And Property Me gives us that. And also it is rubbish in, rubbish out. So you got to make sure that everyone understands that when you enter the things, with the assistance for the property managers, it's like, you are here to be slow and accurate. Do not rush it, but be slow and accurate. Because if you're inaccurate, it'll filter through 20, 30, 40 times.
Yeah, I understand. From then, like you are national. Where are you seeing?
We're not national yet.
From?
We've got licenses.
Well, you're across many states. So WA, Sydney. You're in Sydney, or yep. So this conversation has been really insightful, Mark. You've answered a lot of the questions that I had for you. One of the ones, I guess, is if there's one big rock, like one big problem or one challenge that you're trying to solve for your business right now, what would that be? But communication is a big one. Understand the problem and what the possible solutions are for it. Okay, opened up. So Liz. Thanks again, Mark, and to everyone listening. Head on over to Orana Property to learn more about their business. And, thank you for listening to this podcast, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you, Mark.